Hey everyone, what's up? How you guys doing? Welcome to the first episode of the Real Estate Talk with Burhan and Abel. So let's jump right off, man. My name is Abel Mansour. I'm a realtor in the Virginia area, and this is my broker Burhan Khan, and he's also a real estate broker here in the Virginia area. How you doing, Burhan?
I'm doing well. What's up, everyone?
All right, so let's jump right into it, man. So our goal here with the show is to just kind of help people out and kind of give them our journey and give them some helpful tips and things that can help them throughout their real estate journey, and whether they're buying a home, investing in a home, or anything of that nature. So first and foremost, let's just go right off of it. When did you buy your first home, Brad?
So I bought my first home right after the 2008 recession. It was in 2009.
Okay.
It ended up being a great investment. Back then, everyone was full of fear. Everyone was thinking, we just had a recession. It's not a great time to buy. But that ended up being a great investment after all. That was around the time when I bought my first house.
So I bought my first house right after COVID. So I guess 2021 is when I first purchased my first home. One of the things I wish I would have known as going into, being an owner, I come from first generation of immigrants. So my mother really never owned a home, and just kind of didn't know how to navigate through that whole, the housing market and things like that. So a lot of the stuff I had to learn on the fly, right? So when I first made the offer on my first home, I was just so excited that I got the offer that I didn't ask for anything. I didn't try to negotiate. I was just like, all right, cool. What do you guys need from me? Right? So what was something that you wish you would have known then, or that you thought, you've been in real estate for how many years now?
It's been almost 10 years.
Almost 10 years. So when you bought your first home, were you in real estate, or were you working in corporate America or doing something else?
I was working at the bank at the time as a teller.
Okay.
In 2009. And I was just my dad got me into it. I didn't know what I was doing. And I could have gotten a better deal. It was a foreclosure. Of course, how many houses were failing as far as the mortgage payment.
Yeah, in 2008, of course.
2008. So, it ended up being a great deal. But I wish I did a little more homework, because if you negotiated with the bank, the banks just wanted to dump property. I mean, in today's economy, banks don't let go of property that easily at all.
Okay.
But back in 2009, they were dumping property left and right. There were so many REOs in those days. Now,
REOs, what is that? I'm sorry.
An REO is a real estate owned property, which is known as a bank owned property.
Okay, bank owned property.
So, for example, your properties, right? If you don't make the mortgage payments on your properties, then a couple circumstances can arise. Number one, the bank is going to start coming after you to force you to sell the property. But just in case that doesn't happen, the bank is going to go ahead and say, hey, we just want you to sell the property and pay off the mortgage.
Okay.
A lot of people don't know this, but if you're forced to sell the property through the bank, you only owe the bank the mortgage balance. Let's say your property is worth, just an example, $500,000, and your mortgage balance is $300,000. If you let's say you're dirt poor, the bank can't take the entire $500,000. They can only take what they're owed.
So they're only allowed to take the $300,000. So let's say they sell it for $375,000. Are they obligated to give you the $75,000?
Exactly.
Right.
A lot of people don't know that. They're just stuck with the mindset that, I'm going to dump the house, take it bank, but they're actually owed the equity. In this example, the $75,000.
Okay. So I guess what's one thing, like I said, to circle it back, what's one thing that, or a couple things, it can be a couple things that you wish you would have known being a first-time home buyer that would have set you up? And then, eventually, after you finish working from the bank, you do real estate full-time. Now we have this brokerage that I'm a realtor on there, you're the broker. So what is one thing that you would give as a first-time home buyer to be like, hey, man, I wish I would have did this instead of doing it this way?
So there's a couple things that I could have done better. Number one, back then, Obama gave a lot of first-time homebuyer tax advantages.
Mm-hmm.
I took advantage of that.
Mm-hmm.
However, these days, buyers need to take advantage of all the grant programs that are coming, regardless of who's going to be president.
Okay.
So first-time home buyers need to take advantage of that. Another thing I wish I took advantage of is even if you buy your first home, you can actually convert it into an investment property on your tax returns. Even if you have to pay the IRS a little money, guess what? You can turn around and buy your second property.
Mm-hmm.
I wish I collected more investment properties over
the prices were low. Yeah.
When the prices were low over the last 12 years, 14 years. Then I could have collected a monopoly of real estate in the Northern Virginia area.
Okay. So you would say that you wish you would have bought more property when you first bought your first property.
Correct.
So as far as just as an investment wise, like in 2008, houses were a lot cheaper. You could have probably kept it and the equity would have grown and things of that nature. More specifically, I guess, what's one thing that you think you could have done better if you were to say, so like for me, for example, right? So when I bought my first property, I did the inspection. I did it through an FHA and everything of that nature. Now, when the inspection came back and it told me, hey, your roof is 12 years old, right? So that's getting towards the end of the life of that roof. I feel like I could have negotiated with the owner of the property and said, hey, man, this roof is almost over or its lifetime is almost over. Can we bring the cost down by, not for the whole cost of replacing the roof, but half of the roof? So what I kind of learned throughout my journey is that everything is negotiable, right? So if the selling price is $300,000 and you have to replace the roof, the owner might say, hey, I'm not going to pay for the whole roof, but I'll pay for a portion of the roof. So as I'm going forward in my real estate journey, I'm knowing that, hey, everything is negotiable, right? So what would it be like, again, like one thing that you would say?
So the best realtors and the best investors, they have one art out there. It's known as the art of negotiation. And one thing you always have to do in every real estate deal, every transaction, and every investment is always ask the question. One thing all buyers and all investors always worry about is, hey, they're not going to give it to me. Let's forget about it.
Yeah.
But just ask, just try. What's the worst they can do? Say no. So what? At least you tried, right?
Yeah.
You just have to try.
Exactly.
If you don't try, then how do you know what the answer is? And sometimes you just have to keep budging them, keep bothering them, and then over time they'll get the point that, okay, this guy's getting on my nerves. Let's just give it to him.
Give it to him. Okay. So 2008, you bought your first property. Mm-hmm. You were working in the banking industry then, finances, right? Mm-hmm. So tell me about how you transitioned into real estate, or how you do real estate full time now.
Correct.
Okay. So how did that come about?
So one thing, I worked at BB&T Bank, right? Mm-hmm. For about 8-9 years. One thing I learned is customer service. Customer service is one of the best parts I learned working at the bank and retail banking. Mm-hmm. And I used that to hone my skills into real estate, helping buyers, sellers, and investors. Because it's all about communication, mm-hmm. right? So by honing my communication skills, I'm able to talk to all my clients, whether they're buying their first home, buying an investment property, or selling their house. I'm able to build rapport, get to know them a little bit. Because it's not just, this isn't, going to a 7-Eleven or just going to a bank where they're just doing a quick transaction. It's really getting to know the person.
Okay.
If you don't get to know the person and develop a relationship with them, you don't really get to develop a portfolio in real estate.
Okay. So from banking to real estate, you transitioned fully to being a real estate agent to now a broker. What was like the deciding factor for you to be like, you know what, I'm done with working in the corporate world or working at a bank and I want to do this full time?
So I graduated from George Mason University in 2013. I wanted to continue growing my career in the bank, but as we discussed earlier, we had a recession in 2008. Everyone was impacted, from jobs and everything else. So it didn't work out at the bank. And again, I learned a lot from the bank, so I needed to look at alternatives. And as well as my service skills, the other skill I really honed in on and developed really well was my sales skills.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where I said, you know what? Why not? Let me look into real estate. And real estate is a really great avenue. That's why you see so many real estate agents getting their licenses right now. If you put in the time, you can really develop a great business in real estate.
Yeah. Kind of, I guess, the same with me. Like, so I graduated high school in 2008. I took a couple real estate classes, but I life, and I never really like just said, you know what, I'm going to do this fully. Years go by, things happen. I worked in the corporate world. Eventually, I knew in the back of my mind, this is what I wanted to do. This is where I want to lead, because I don't want to cap my potential for making money, right? So I realized, hey, owning property in this country is the way to financial freedom, doing it the right way. So, and also just 10 years of experience doing sales and just being in that customer service kind of industry kind of led me to this journey. I would say this is something that I do enjoy, you know, so I want to start building and growing my portfolio. What is, I guess, your goal as far as in your real estate journey? Are you more so, I'm trying to just build this for this company, this business, I want to help people, all of the above? Like, just tell us a little bit more about what prompted you to start H2IO Properties.
So banking, as I said earlier, I was looking for career growth opportunities, and then I graduated from George Mason University, and it wasn't working out in banking. So then I got into real estate.
Mm-hmm.
After practicing real estate for a few years as a real estate agent, I passed a brokerage exam. So I decided to start my own brokerage. Mm-hmm. And then I opened the shop here in Springfield, Virginia, H2IO Properties.
Yeah.
And at this time, I'm currently growing my team. As you know, Abel, you're on my team.
Yeah.
And that's why I have an aspiration. But at the end of the day, what I really like doing is helping people.
Mm-hmm.
I always like helping first-time home buyers, sellers, and doing what's in their best interest. As long as you have a good heart, you'll always have a successful business.
Yeah. I guess that's a good, you can have a good heart, but if you don't know how to run a business, but
I mean, that's how it always goes.
It does.
And I always preach to everyone.
If your intentions are good, I guess, right?
If your intentions are good. I always preach to everyone, if you chase after money, and I tell this to everyone I work with, whether it's my team, you know, other people in general, my clients,
mm-hmm.
if you chase after money, you're going to fail.
Yeah.
But if you have a good intention and a good heart, you're going to succeed.
Things are going to work out in your favor.
Things are going to work out in your favor. Yeah. It's pretty simple and straightforward.
So with that saying that, right, so let's talk about everything that's happening in real estate right now. Mm-hmm. So actually, so me, I'm a first-year agent, and I'm under your brokerage. I don't have to really adjust to all the new rules that are coming right now, right? So help me understand, or help our viewers or listeners understand kind of what this new transition and what's happening right now. So for those of you that don't know, the NAR has taken out, you know, sellers being able to pay commissions, which necessarily doesn't mean that they can't pay the commission, but we can't advertise that you can pay the buying agent's commission. So talk a little bit about that. How do you feel about it? Where do you see it going, and how it's going to help or hurt the consumer essentially? So
effective earlier this month, going into the future, all buyers must, and it's mandatory, it's not optional, even though previously it was, have to sign a buyer's broker agreement with their agent. There are no ifs, ands, or buts. And they had to sign it before they start touring houses. Mm-hmm. Let's say you, Abel, or myself, or any agent for that matter, has a conversation with one of us, and they say, I really like this property. I'm pre-approved for the loan. I want to take a look at it. That's great and all. But if they don't sign that buyer-broker agreement, then we can get in legal trouble. Mm-hmm. And we don't want to go down that road. If they really want to see it, and they don't sign that agreement with us, simply put, we cannot show them the property. Yeah. Because if we end up doing it, and then if we get a contract in place, next week the NAR, they're gonna send us a note, and we're gonna have some legal conflict.
I feel like this is gonna kind of weave out the week in a sense, right?
Correct.
So with a lot of people having, I guess in the past, and I can't really talk of the past because this is my first year as an agent, right? So in the past, it was just kind of easy. Like the seller pays your commission, you get them into a house. You don't get them to sign that agreement until they make an offer on the house and things of that nature. Now it kind of forces you to say, hey, get this signed, figure out how your pay structure is going to be, or kind of move on or don't. So I feel like a lot of the lazier, quote unquote, agents are going to kind of get woven out of the situation. Do you kind of agree with that?
I agree. And that's a great point you made, because all of us have to work hard.
Yeah.
There's nothing easy. If you don't want to work hard, work smart, and, become a successful business or entrepreneur, then you might as well stick to a 9-to-5 job.
Yeah. So as a broker, how would you advise your agents to kind of get around this or get better from this, in a sense? Like, hey, these new rules are here. They're here to stay. You have to follow these rules. What are some helpful tools that you would give them so that they can be successful in this new way of doing business in real estate?
You just have to preach to your client and advise them why they have to sign it. And it's always been that way. Mm-hmm. But unfortunately, because of the new laws in place and why they came to be, some agents were doing malpractices, unfortunately. And we don't practice that way here.
Yeah.
So if you follow the practices the right way, especially newer agents, if you follow the book, follow the standards, and do what's best in your client's interest, as I stated earlier,
yeah,
we'll never come to that point.
So for the people listening, can you talk about how this came about? I know it was something in the Midwest, right? So agents in the Midwest were kind of accused of steering. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
So in the Midwest, I don't want to go too much into specifics, but in the Midwest, agents were pretty much controlling the prices and steering. But more importantly, they weren't being completely transparent to their buyers. They were just, a buyer would see a house, they wouldn't have signed the buyer broker agreement, and then at the very last day, the buyer would go to the closing and then see all the numbers, and then they felt like they were cheated.
Yeah.
That's what pretty much created the lawsuit, in short.
So in the long run, do you think that this is going to be good for real estate or bad for real estate?
I think this will be good for every single buyer, seller, and real estate in the long run.
Because you kind of know what you're coming into going before you start the transaction.
As you stated earlier, every single realtor that's, quote unquote, a lazy agent, they're going to be weeded out.
Yeah.
If they've been doing this for 30 years, I guess they're at the end of their career anyway.
Yeah.
So they might as well look at the retirement plan.
Yeah. It's harder to adapt when you've been doing the same thing for 30 years. So
yeah,
I guess all the newer agents coming in, hey, this is going to be good for you. This is
correct.
Start doing business this way. Start getting in the habit of that, and then things will start. There will be a new standard, I guess, of doing business, right?
Exactly.
So I guess with that, given that, when people get past that, hey, you just got your broker agreement, you got your agents, your clients to sign this agreement. How do you navigate through the market right now? Interest rates are dropping, right? So why is it so many people, a lot of the things that I'm getting is like, hey man, I'm gonna wait for the interest rates to drop. Is that even a smart move to do? I always say that mentality of, hey, if you love the house, buy the house, marry the rates.
So the saying goes, date the rate, marry the house, right? Mm-hmm. And the reason you can date the rate is because you can refinance.
Yeah.
You can always break up with the rate, right?
Yeah.
Let's say there's a girl out there and you just want to take her out to a movie one night, and then you're going to leave her the next day, but you really like that other girl, you're going to marry her just like you're marrying the house. Mm-hmm. Next year, rates are for sure going to drop. Everyone is betting 100% that the Fed's going to lower the rate in September. After that, there's going to be a reciprocal effect on mortgage rates dropping this fall.
Yeah.
So why would you continuously wait for those rates to drop? That's similarly, let's say, 4 years ago when the housing prices started spiking because the rates were so low. Mm-hmm. Let's say you said, okay, I'm going to keep waiting till the rates go to zero.
Yeah.
How would that end up?
And it's easier to refinance 1 year, 2 year into your loan rather than if you're 10, 15 years into your loan where you have to do another 30 year or whatever the case may be, right? So
exactly.
I feel like a lot of people have that misconception of, yeah, man, I don't, the rates are just too high right now. It's like, well, this is if you like the house, because guess what? When those interest rates go up or go down, the price is gonna go up. So
one of the biggest reasons is because all those buyers that are still on the sidelines and they don't want to jump in yet and they keep waiting and waiting, they have this factor known as fear, and they keep on letting fear drive them.
Yeah.
And one of the wealthiest people in the world, Warren Buffett, he always says when people have fear, that's when he jumps in.
Yeah.
And then when everyone starts jumping in, that's when he takes a step back.
Yeah.
So this is the best time, just based on Warren Buffett's beliefs.
Yeah.
For example, I don't know if everyone else noticed this, but 2-3 weeks ago, Warren Buffett sold all his shares in many investments. He sold like billions of dollars in shares. And then all of a sudden, lo and behold, the stock market went down.
Yeah. Yeah.
So he knows how to control the market.
Yeah. So right now, would you say it's a buyer or a seller's market from your experience in the last year in transactions?
It's still a seller's market. And the reason why, despite interest rates, inventory is still low. Until inventory catches up, it's going to remain a seller's market. But I do believe inventory will start increasing over the next few years, because if you compare 2022 to 2023, inventory actually increased. And now, since the rates are going to go down, inventory will increase once again heading into 2025.
Yeah. No, I would, as an agent, as my first year into this, I'm excited for things. A lot of the kickback and a lot of the push I'm getting is like, oh man, interest rates are just too high right now. I don't know if I can handle it, or I don't want to pay my payments and all that. One advice that I think, me personally, that like I said, like we just talked about, is, hey man, interest rates are gonna come down. It's it's better to refinance when it's lower in your payment period, rather than it being 10 years, 20 years down the line. So, I mean, is it a good time to buy right now? Is it a good time? Like, should people go ahead and buy?
Let me put it this way. I know everyone's thinking, let me keep waiting, but let me ask you, if you got a new job opportunity, right? And they're paying you $10,000 or $20,000 more, would you take it? You would, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's a no-brainer, right?
That's a no-brainer. So why wouldn't you take advantage of this now when the prices are lower and you can refinance next year? And then you'll end up with a better deal. So what's the difference?
So how long do you think this is going to be a seller's market? Like, if you can, obviously we don't have a crystal ball in front of us and we know when things are going to happen. So if you were to make an educated guess, like, how long do you think this will continue to be a seller's market?
So as I stated earlier, from 2023 to 2024 and 2022 to 2023, inventory has increased. It's going to increase again heading into next year, since rates will drop. I would say the next 4 to 5 years is going to be a seller's market. Then it may switch over to a buyer's market. Bank of America, they forecasted the next couple of years is still going to be a crazy market, where sales prices of houses are going to spike up by 5 to 10%, especially in saturated areas such as DC. But in the 2027, they said it's going to start getting flat. That's what Bank of America, it's going to start flattening out. That's what Bank of America forecasted.
You think the election is going to play a big role in helping the housing market? Or
it will. It's pretty simple. Democrats and Republicans have different viewpoints, so they play a critical role.
Okay. Well, that was great. Again, thank you. We're going to try to do this once a week for everybody out there that's willing to listen and kind of just get some helpful tips from us. Hit that follow and subscribe button, man. We're
definitely
here.
For sure. And we always want to help people, especially first-time home buyers, sellers, and educate them on all the grants out there and what we can do to help them in their best interest.
Awesome. Thank you, man. Until next time. See you guys.